Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our co-hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Sri and Peter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the CPG Guys podcast. I'm Sri, one of the aforementioned CPG guys. On my domains of expertise are branding, direct-to-consumer, unified commerce, sometimes also called Omnichannel commerce, retail media, and marketplaces. And the other CPG guy who hangs around with me every single week, the LA Dodgers guy, who hasn't said a word to me because his team has actually lost a couple games back-to-back, which hasn't happened in a while. His subject matter...
Still in first place. Still in first place.
Yeah, but Tatis likes to hit home runs on you guys.
Thank you, Matt. Matt, for those watching the video, I am saluting. His expertise revolves around digital shelf content, retail, customer data, insights, CRM, and loyalty. Please join me in welcoming the man with the golden voice, also known as 007. Mr. Bond, how are you today?
I don't know if I like the socks or the Rays better, but in any event, they're both your daddies. So I'm doing well, Sri, and I'm actually fired up today, pun intended, because we're going to talk about something that's a little different than what we're used to, which is the more traditional consumable groceries. We're doing consumer goods, but we're talking with someone who's much more attuned to what's going on, in the mass space like Walmart and Target, but also the DIY space.
I can't wait,
like
Peter,
Home
just
Depot.
like you. I cannot wait because I think the messages coming from our special guest today will resonate very well with CPG brands and their own transformation journey as he has discovered. Thank you, Peter. But before we get to our guest, I would like to remind our audience that all our content, including the work that you asked us to do on profitability, our women's leadership series where Peter and I were able to contribute $8,000 to the Susan Komen Fund in the fall of last year, and our own musings may be found by visiting cpgguys.com. Also, do check out our ongoing One Question, One Answer series that we have on Instagram on weekdays, where we feature a special guest and industry luminaries, where we tackle one tough topic of the industry as a question with a straightforward answer from our guest. Our show's content is driven by you, the audience, so please do give us your feedback and what you want to hear about more, and you can do that easily by simply following us on linkedin.com, by going to the search bar, typing CPG Guys, that's 2G's, CPG Guys, and simply hitting the follow button. From time to time we take polls. Please do participate. Again, the show is by you, for you, and we promise not to disappoint. And in the process, we'd love a rating on the Apple platform, simply done by going to ratethispodcast.com/CPG Guys. And now to our guest. He's the CEO of American Fireglass, also commonly known as Fireplace Glass or Fire Pit Glass. Can be used in fireplaces and fire pits, both indoors, outdoors, in landscaping, aquariums, and even in art projects. And I may have unknowingly been a customer of his when I lived in Texas with my fire pit. Please join Peter and me in welcoming to the podcast Matt Dahl, the CEO of American Fireglass. Welcome, Matt. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you. You touched on something for the industry about the people on this podcast and what the podcast is for. And that couldn't be more the truth, because here I am interacting with you right now today because of all the interaction we've had online, from Twitter to Instagram to LinkedIn. And so we've been interacting back and forth for a couple of years now. And then now that you've got the CPG Guys podcast going, I'm excited to be a part of it. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matt. Before we get into the questions, would you please first tell our audience about where they can more learn about American Fireglass, even if they wanted to purchase American Fireglass products, and a brief overview of your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is AmericanFireglass.com. You could find us under that handle on basically any social media platform, or you could even find me as Matt Dahl on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you want to learn a little bit more about me and how I run the business. I post a lot about the day-to-day stuff that a CEO has to go through. So those are a couple areas where you could interact with us and myself.
And I can attest to the fact that Matt is on LinkedIn every day and does talk about what he has to go through as a CEO day to day. And so welcome, Matt. And we will now move to the questions. And I will actually start with the first question. Here we go. How exactly, Matt, did you graduate college and get into Fireglass? Like, how was that born, the idea born in your head? And then what is the history and the evolution of American Fireglass?
This is where the story is going to take a turn that I don't think even you expected. So I never went to college, not a single day of school. And as a matter of fact, I dropped out of high school in my junior year. When I was 17 years old, I decided that I needed to start earning money and be independent on my own. I grew up in a single mother household, so it was myself, my mom, and my brother. And I really just wanted to work hard and start making a life for myself. I saw how much my mom struggled, and I can't learn in a school environment. I was truly a 0.1 GPA type of student, so learning in that environment just wasn't for me. So I immediately started working for a window installation company when I was around 17 years old. I did that for a number of years. And at the same time, when I was 18 years old, I got married to my high school sweetheart. We had our first child at 19 years old, another child at 21, and another child at 24. So all during that time, I was working in the window construction industry. And then one day on my drive home around late 2004 from work, I was carpooling with the owner of my company, and we stopped into this store that sold barbecue islands, fire pits, spas, different things like that in Southern California where we lived. And I watched a guy putting glass bottles in a pillowcase, smashing it with a hammer, and then dumping it into a fire pit. And having a background of glass for the last many years, it kind of dawned on me, I think I could do that better. So literally that night, I went to Toys R Us. I spent $39 on a kid's rock tumbler. I then went into the office where we stored glass and stuff. I got some sheets of glass, crushed up tempered glass, put it through the polisher, figured out how to make it look nice and shiny, and I took that little sample back to the guy in a little tiny Ziploc bag. He basically said, if you could bring me 100 pounds of that by next Saturday, I'll pay you for it. So from that very moment, I kind of had to figure how to scale the process. And without going into too much detail, I broke my wife's washer and dryer trying to polish glass in it. That didn't work out.
That was a great idea, Matt.
Yeah. So I made myself sick testing different versions of propane heaters and breathing in too much gas inside my garage, which was stupid. That's a whole nother story. And so ultimately I figured out a way to make 100 pounds of glass, and I brought it to the guy, and he wrote me a check right there on the spot. And that was the exact moment that I decided that I was going to build something, and I launched the company right then and there. And my first actual sale came in 2005. And here we are 16 years later, and in that amount of time, we've done almost $100 million in sales since then.
Wow, that is tremendous. Matt, first of all, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to speak with you because you're a fellow social media maven. You love to use it to communicate, and I love to follow you, and you post a lot of really interesting content. So thank you for that. Let's talk about how you started the business beyond where you had your initial idea around this concept. I have to imagine, based on that story, that launching the business, you were primarily focused on an in-store model. What were some of the strengths that you developed to kind of succeed in this physical store distribution strategy? Yeah,
at the time, having a young family, I didn't need a lot of money to support myself. So I was able to, in the beginning, work full-time and then run the business. And after about 6 months, I quit to full-time focus on the business. And that was 2 months before going to my first industry trade show. I put every penny of money I had towards getting that booth right. When I went to that booth, I had roughly 10 to 11 customers that were buying our product, and they were local on the in-store model. We left that show with about 250 customers. And I was very open with the dealers and the people that were walking the show. Here I am, 24 years old, green as can be. And I was honest about that with these people. I was
literally and in your pocket figuratively green. Yes. 250 customers. Holy moly, Matt. That was a great trade show.
Yeah, it really was. So I asked a lot of people what they want from a supplier at that show, and we got a lot of feedback. So we learned in-store displays, marketing, quality products. pretty much that was as easy as it was in 2005. That's all you needed to do. So we decided to grow off of that. And from day one, I've always kind of considered myself a marketing company that happens to sell a physical product, and that's what supports us. And I think having that mentality is what's allowed us to grow to where we are today. So we've always driven brand awareness, product awareness. To this day, we still run into people on a daily basis that have no idea what Fireglass even is. And so that excites me when we still run into people who don't know it, because that just explores more opportunities for us to do more branding. So with the in-store model, we started offering free displays, bulk discounts, and just different things like that. And that really is what led us to be successful with the in-store business model. One of the most successful things we've ever done was have a dealer locator on our website. And in the advertising that we do, we drive people to our dealers, either to their website or to their in-store Google, whatever you call that, on Google, where you can find dealers and whatnot. And so we do a lot of that, and that's always been our core focus. And it really wasn't until 2020 that things kind of changed for us.
Matt, this journey will actually be incomplete if I didn't recognize and call out that this is the story of true homegrown American entrepreneurship. So thank you for sharing with us your story of growth. I also loved how you talked about you being a branding company that sells, because that is what full funnel selling is about. And for far too long in the industry, we've looked at it as marketing and sales, and it's really just one funnel where the customer and the consumer show up. As COVID hit the store model earlier last year in 2020, let's say early spring, and the store model actually slowed down and actually froze for a short period given the hygienity concerns. What were areas you felt you needed to focus on to keep the company growing and not take a step back, and delivering, most importantly, for people who work for you, your teams, and for the brand American Fireglass as well?
March 19th, 2020 is a day that I will never forget. That was the day that I had to react to the announcement that came out the night before from the governor of California that everything was going into a shutdown. And we had kind of seen the writing on the wall. And 5 days prior to that, I was in New Orleans for a trade show. So we were on Bourbon Street when they came down the street with horses and police and cleared out all of the restaurants and the bars, literally saying with the bullhorn, "You need to go home. You're being irresponsible. Don't be an idiot. Get out of here. There's a pandemic happening." And being that I was in the bubble of this trade show that we were at, I don't think I realized really what was happening, because we had been in travel mode for about 6 days and things just really, really got bad. So we came back, and my leadership team spent 3 or 4 straight days kind of coming up with plan A, B, C, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of which way it's going to pivot. If it's going to be a full shutdown like we're seeing in China, where they're welding bars on doors and locking people into buildings, which we knew that wasn't going to happen, but that's some of the things we were starting to see. So on that day, I had to lay off 16 employees. We were prepared to make it about 8 weeks with $0 in sales. And I had to shore up the bottom line to make sure that we could keep the core of the company alive by going 8 weeks with $0 in sales. And that's the amount of money I had in the bank. And that's where we were. So that was really tough. I'd had people working for me for 10, 11 years that we had to part ways with on that day. And I tried to personally be the ones who spoke to every person in that situation. And I think I did in most cases. And as a matter of fact, fast forward to today, the people that no longer work with us, I'm still friends with them and talk to them on a basis. So that worked out. We immediately saw our sales drop about 90% for that first couple of weeks. The only sales we had coming in was a little glimmer of e-commerce sales coming from our partners, Wayfair and HomeDepot.com, and Spotix is one of our largest online retailers as well, and they're focused in the hearth and backyard niche. And so we were seeing a little bit of business coming in from them, and I started strategizing with the owner of one of those companies. Is there a way that maybe we could literally transfer truckloads of product to your distribution center on the East Coast just to keep things up and running? And so we started plotting out some ideas. And then all of a sudden, by week 2, we started to see this weird uptick that we weren't expecting. Around week 3, we knew that the dealer business was going to be shut down for a while. So we came up with a couple of really cool ideas. We, within a matter of 5 days, launched a referral program that would allow our dealers to post on their social media about our products with a coupon code. And any of their customers that use that coupon code, we would pay the dealer a 30% commission for getting that sale. So we didn't have anything like that at all. And then we launched that just to do that. So that started stimulating a little bit of business with our dealers. And then we took that a step further, and we have a full in-house marketing team. We offered up our marketing department to our dealers to actually create the Facebook ads, to create emails, to do whatever was necessary to help our stores, our brick and mortar customers, try to make it through this and salvage any little bit that they could, because everyone quickly recognized you weren't going to have someone coming in your store. The only way you're going to make a sale is to do this online at this point. So we did a couple of things like that. And then I've been a member of a group called Vistage, which is a CEO mentoring group for many years. And we were meeting every day for 30 to 45 minutes a day with my group. And we came up with kind of this big master list of what it was going to take to manage through this process. And this was from the minds of, 20 or 30 other CEOs, and we all put it together. And I started publishing real thought leadership content that would help our dealers out. And we were doing 1 to 2 emails a day. And at that point, we had everyone's attention because pretty much everyone stopped their marketing, but we never stopped. We kind of pulled back from product marketing and went more into leadership. How can we help you type of marketing? And looking back at that now, it just happened. We didn't say, oh, this is a good opportunity to take advantage of the situation. In my mind, that if the dealers didn't make it through this, we weren't going to make it through this. So I wanted to do absolutely everything I could to help them. So while all of that was going on with our dealers, that was helping them get a little piece of the pie back. We had started planning to go direct to consumer on our own website about 3.5 years ago. And that's how long we had been building the process of trying to make sure we get it right. In 2017, it was taking us an average of 2 to 3 weeks to ship orders. In early 2020, we were shipping orders same day. So we had fixed our processes right before we really flipped the switch to launch our D2C. And in the first week of January 2020, which was before the pandemic, is when we officially did quietly launch our D2C. If it wasn't for making that pivot and taking what we learned from supporting customers like Wayfair and HomeDepot.com and all of these other e-commerce players over the years, I don't think we would have made it, because we were able to take new market share in the industry. And I say industry is our niche of Fireglass and burner products and outdoor DIY accessories. And a couple of our competitors are gone. They're off the map. They don't really exist anymore. And all of those things that we did really helped us not just survive, but we have thrived. With launching our D2C, in addition to helping us, it helped our dealers grow 83% year over year on Q1 of this year versus last year. So that really helped us quite a bit.
That is a powerful story, Matt. A whole lot of things came together to help you not only survive, but to thrive in this shift and pivot to the digital side of selling. So as you think about that, you had your supply chain operations in place to be able to turn orders around very quickly. And you had the marketing capabilities to start messaging. Now that you've got this pandemic that's put you in this condition, when do you start thinking, you know what, there's no putting, even if the pandemic subsides, and when it does, there's probably no putting the genie back in the bottle. So how do you feel that this is going to play out, and what are you doing to say, hey, this is the new reality, we got to go all in on this, not just during this pandemic, but even beyond?
Yeah, so to reiterate, prior to 2020, 100% of our business was brick and mortar, wholesale, and dropship e-com support for the larger e-com companies that we sold. And we really started to see the shift of what was happening. Behind the scenes, we started building our D2C. That process, like I said, took a couple of years to do. And then we really accelerated it to become everything that we did came from the point of view is how do we make the customer experience the best it could possibly be in regards to our products and our brand. And that's really where I led from, was starting at what makes the best customer experience and how do we do that? So we identified that no, people are going to start buying online more and never go back to the brick and mortar model the way they were before. We're starting to see the shift with our dealers who are pretty much all back now at full speed. Seeing a lot of people that will come to my website, look at our products, and then go to our dealer locator and end up finding a brick and mortar retailer to go purchase the product. That's an area where some dealers were hesitant to want us to market that way. Some dealers were all for it. In our industry, a lot of people are very old school and didn't quite understand the benefits of what the internet could do for them. As crazy as that sounds, in 2020, 2021, we still have people that fax us or virtually mail us purchase orders. And I'm not even joking about that. So we've decided to kind of see how far we could take that omni-channel process. We've really turned multi-channel versus omni-channel, because omni-channel as a brand and a manufacturer is almost impossible because we don't have the brick and mortar locations to sell direct. You know, some big brands end up opening flagship stores and they're able to be true omni-channel, but for the most part, we're mostly multi-channel. One of the things that we're trying to build out is to figure out how to get all of our dealers to log into a portal on our website, click boxes that say, yes, they have inventory. And then when we drive customers to our website and click find a dealer, it'll show them what stores have the product available for them in their areas. And most of our stores are all independent retailers. So today we have over 2,000 stores in North America that sell our product. The majority of them stock our products, but there is absolutely no database that ties them together and can tell anybody what anybody has. And even our sophisticated system that we have now, once we sell something to someone, we don't know what their sell-through rates are. So we never know what they have. So this new portal that we're trying to create would really kind of blend that multi-channel, omni-channel version of business to help the customer experience. So you could go onto my website, you could place an order right then and there. We'll ship it to you same day. You'll get it within a few days. Or you could click it, your zip code, find dealers in your area, see what they have in stock, drive 10 minutes to their store and take it home within 30 minutes of visiting our website. And that's my big goal that I'm really hoping to create. But that's never been done from a manufacturer's point of view. And so that's something that we're just now starting to do. And we think by the end of 2021, we're going to have a working prototype of that could really change the way our industry works for Fireglass and DIY parts. So that's, you know, I like to have these crazy outlandish ideas. And, you know, if I have 20 a month and one of them works, then we're doing the right things. And so we kind of operate that way around here.
I loved what you just said. If I have 20 of these outlandish ideas a month, you're throwing a bunch of darts. If one of them works, I mean, that is the true spirit of entrepreneurship we'd love to see from brands, right? Which is, the larger you have scale, don't be the one that simply has one idea and tests it out and it doesn't succeed and then you have to move a year later to another idea. Try to get a handful of planes in the air and then maybe one of them will be extremely successful. You said a lot about your website, the dealer locator, 2017 D2C, and then the soft launch, which has now obviously become a prominent part of your business model, D2C. So what did you do in D2C in 2020 to optimize that was different from others? What muscle power did you have to build for the company that already didn't exist as you moved into this new world of, I'm going to not just ship from home, which you were already doing, but also be good at it?
As complicated as it sounds, the answer to that is really easy. All you have to do is make the customer experience a good one, and everything else is going to work. So we figured out.
So Matt, I want to call that out for the listeners. D2C sounds complicated. All it is, get better at user experience. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and that's really where we came from. Having supported other large e-commerce companies for the last 8 to 10 years, we learned from them what really worked to support customers. And we looked at areas where, how could we do it even better and make people that are buying our products even happier than they were before. And some of those areas were, free returns, free shipping, getting product really quick, actually getting what you ordered there's a few marketplaces out there where you could order a product and what shows up, everyone knows isn't going to be exactly what you ordered. So we really are deep involved in the customer experience. And then one of the things I didn't expect by going D2C that helped us get better is the reviews. So the reviews we get on our products, the good, the bad, the ugly, every single review we get, oh, you're a review guy. I forgot about this. So every review we get, we actually we print it out and we evaluate them to see what we did right or what we did wrong. And so every single review, and then we work together with some other, maybe you don't want me to say this, but we work with Bazaar Voice to then see the reviews that people are leaving of our products on the Amazons and the Home Depots. And we just look at those and we do the same thing. What do people like? What don't people like? And then we use that to make our product and our processes better. And so there's no magic pill. There's no one thing that we did. It's just really, really, really trying to make the customer experience better. And through that process, it's allowed our D2C to be successful. And ultimately, it's growing our dealer business as well, because the better we get, the better we are for our dealers as well.
Shri, he had me at reviews. Let's go back to something that Matt said about trying and failing. Hey, Shri, when you're in Major League Baseball and you strike out 2/3 of the time, where do you end up?
On the Yankees?
The Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Manny.
That's right.
Hall of Fame to the Yankees. You're a good guy, man. We're gonna have
No, you don't end up in the Yankees. Anyhow, so wow, this is a really great story, Matt, and absolutely, you want to try and learn a lot from how your customers are talking about your products, because it's certainly going to help you innovate, and it's going to help you improve your product's efficacy, and it'll also help you with your marketing, because you may be selling a feature that's not resonating with your consumers, and they're liking something completely different about your product, and that's where the feedback you gotta ask for it if you want to learn from it. So obviously, as vaccinations increase and we reach that wonderful herd immunity status, people start going out and they're shopping in stores more and more. There's going to be a new in-store model. It's not going to be the same as it was before, because so many people now are shopping online. So I think of this as being more of a hybrid. People shopping online, maybe picking up in store, the curbside, BOPUS model. Is there a digital element that's needed in store as well? What are you thinking as you ponder kind of the next phase of emerging from this pandemic?
Our products are labor intensive, I guess you could say. Our products are designed to be installed. So, they're not just something you take home, open it up, and it works right out of the box. Usually you've got to install our Fireglass into a fire pit, or you have to build a fire pit. And so the in-store model that we're really seeing and hoping becomes successful is stocking more inventory to give customers the instant gratification of our products. Now, I know a lot of small retailers, that's hard to do, but there's always the 80-20 rule. We manufacture 1,500 SKUs, but 25 of them are really what's popular. And so we're recommending that our brick and mortar retailers that have an average of anywhere from a 5,000 square foot showroom to a 20,000 square foot showroom, so they're not huge, keep one of our display racks that holds our products. And one of the best ways to compete with the behemoths of the world, the big A, is to have the product in stock, so that when someone comes in your store, you don't have to send them out the door. Just last week, I was looking for a part for my RV, and I walked into an RV repair store, and the guy virtually told me, I can't compete with Amazon anymore. Go to Amazon and buy it. You'll have it in a day. I had to cancel my whole camping trip for the weekend because nobody in my local area had this little part that I needed, and it really, really annoyed me. As much as I am an advocate for online shopping and I love the online shopping model, there is definitely a world for brick and mortar retail, and I think a big part of it is that instant gratification of wanting something and needing something and not wanting to wait, a couple of days to get it. So back to my portal idea, I really think being able to help our dealers tell the world what they're doing is gonna help a lot. We have dealers that still really don't see the value of having a nice website and doing Google and social media advertising. And we're doing our best to try to educate our dealers of why there's a benefit to doing that. And the more people they could drive into their store, the more chances they're going to get to close. And even in a world where if they don't have something in stock, we ship so fast, they could get it to their customer almost just as fast as if that customer bought it directly from us. So we're trying to make our dealers as successful as possible. And then on our D2C side, we do a good job of trying not to directly compete with them. We sell at a higher price. And then we first promote people to go buy from a dealer. And if the customer absolutely chooses not to then the default order will come to us or one of our e-com partners. And that has seemed to work really well. And here we are in it feels like mid 2021, but I guess it's still kind of early. That model is starting to really show dividends for us. And we're seeing a lot more in-store traffic. Our dealer business is significantly up, even from pre-pandemic era, because they're really adopting advertising and marketing. And I think that's something that a lot of small retailers, for some reason, were just really against doing, thinking that they had a pot of gold and they didn't need to spend money to advertise. I don't know exactly what it is, and I can't put my finger on it, but I think we've all heard that the pandemic forced everybody 5 years in the future with adopting technology and e-commerce and all of that. And so it just seems to be working well. And I definitely see a model where our 5-year goal is to have roughly 40% of our business be brick and mortar retail, 40% of our business be e-commerce wholesale, and 20% of our business be D2C. That's what we're on track for. Our dealer business is actually the fastest growing category right now, even as successful as our D2C is. So that may change a little bit, but we'll see.
Wow, man, it's very inspiring to hear a brand manufacturer and a vendor partner to retailers actually talk about a vision of a 40-40-20. And so we talked about D2C, we talked about the new in-store model, your own evolution. If I asked you to sum this up, Matt, and I asked you, could we dive into the world of e-commerce capabilities that you find are the leading brands that you're also trying to learn from? What would those be? And then within American Fireglass, with your employees and your associates, have you built the processes now as you look forward to this continuing transformation to support this for the brand?
Yeah. So my vision for wanting to grow our D2C started 4 or 5 years ago. And with us being mostly wholesale, that wasn't met with all of the departments in the company with the same excitement as I had for it. So our sales department, which is very focused on our wholesale e-commerce and our brick and mortar department, didn't see the vision that I saw for where e-commerce is going. It was about 4 years ago that I got real ballsy and decided to say, let's stop doing print catalogs. And so we went about a year without doing print catalogs at all and tried to drive everybody to the website. And today I'll admit I think that was a mistake, because I have learned that our brick and mortar retailers absolutely want something in their hand that's tangible that they could show products to. So I've experimented with a handful of different things. And the culture within our business has evolved. And now I think everybody is fully on board with the idea that e-commerce is roughly 60% of our business. Because if you remember, 40% wholesale e-com, 20% D2C. And so now it is a larger portion of our business than just the brick and mortar is. And where I really try to make sure is that we don't take for granted any one area of the business. We still, do trade shows to try to connect with our wholesale brick and mortar guys to try to make sure they're seeing the newest stuff. And for us, we're even considering coming out with exclusive products just for the brick and mortar. A lot of people are coming out with products exclusive just for e-com. I was kind of trying to do it a little bit different and give something that's just for the brick and mortar guys. And I've seen some other manufacturers who have done things like that and had success with it. And so we're doing a couple of things like that. And I feel like I missed one part of your question there because my brain went straight to talk about that. And now I don't remember what you asked.
I had asked you about omnichannel capabilities in general or multi-channel capabilities in general. You certainly got the D2C pieces out of the way, the evolution of the company, how you've now gotten sales teams excited into adopting this new way with numbers. So you actually answered the question. The most important part of this journey, Matt, was making sure your people really understand this transformation and work towards building positive brand equity. And sounds like that's exactly what you've taken the company to. So you absolutely answered the question. Peter, is there time for one more?
Yeah, I think so, Shri. So, Matt, I turn to you and say, what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who've launched brands that have been highly dependent on a physical store model to help them move from that to react to the evolving omni-channel world of how consumers are buying and how brands need to be prepared?
Well, first, if we're talking about someone in my niche that I compete with, I think you guys are doing just great, and just keep doing exactly what you're doing because it's working perfect. Don't change it.
Bravo, Matt. Bravo.
But for everybody else for everybody else in the world, as a brand, you don't even need to build a D2C focus of your business to be successful in e-commerce, but you have to build your product and the processes with the customer in mind. So if you have a product that has a 3-week lead time, that is not e-commerce savvy. That's not going to work for the omni world where it's e-commerce, brick and mortar, everything. I think creating a product and having it readily available for either dropship, learning the dropship model, or even just same day shipping, no matter who you support that with, is going to set you up for some version of success in this multi-channel, omni-channel world. But in our industry, there's still manufacturers that have 3 to 6 week lead times on product. And that's honestly an area where we've been able to come in underneath them and basically take 100% of market share for any e-commerce, which is now, as I said, 60% of our total business. So the guys that don't believe that you really need to build your business for an e-commerce channel, I have a feeling that over the next 10 to 15 years, if they don't pivot, they're just going to go away.
Wow. Wow. What a great conversation we had, Peter. For our audience, I'd like to remind all of you that you can find all our content on the cpgguys.com URL, where you can simply click on anything from the profitability series to actually learning about our 1Q, 1A series as well on Instagram. And we'd love for you in the process to leave us a review and a rating so you can continue to shape what the outcome of this podcast is, what guests you'd like to bring in, the transformative conversations you'd like to have here. And you can do that simply by going to ratethispodcast.com/CPG Guys or going to LinkedIn.com in the search bar, putting CPG Guys, and simply follow us from time to time. We take polls. Please do participate. Matt, sincere thank you for the transformative coaching and the knowledge you have dropped on all of us on this episode in your own personal journey of homegrown American entrepreneurism as you make your way to multi-channel, omni-channel ecosystems. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And for the listeners out there, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for putting up with listening to me talk.
Peter, wow. Thank you for doing this with me, Peter, week over week. I want to repeat that word. Wow.
Shri, our podcast is about educating our audience. This was a perfect class in understanding how, when faced with adversity in this pandemic, a business owner pivoted, figured out how to succeed, and is scaling their business for future growth, not just dealing with the current pandemic. We're going to include links again to American Fireglass and to Matt on LinkedIn in our digital liner notes of the podcast episode. So anyone who's listening, please go to the liner notes and you'll find the hyperlinks. You don't have to remember everything. Just go there and you'll be able to reach them.
And Matt, for the benefit of our audience, if you could one more time state what will actually appear on the liner notes, where they can find American Fireglass and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you could search AmericanFireglass.com. You could look up that handle on any social media platform, or you could find me, Matt Dahl, on either LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even Facebook. And so I haven't quite made it to TikTok yet, but I'll be there eventually.
We're waiting for you because we're already there, Matt. This is a challenge. The gauntlet has been dropped. You got to get on TikTok.
Yeah, I have my TikTok handle, but I've not created any content yet.
We're looking forward to see something soon. And with that, thank you to all of our audience for listening in week over week. We will see you soon on another episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.